Shit, and more shit. Dani practically floated the whole way home. Pulling into the parking garage of her condo, she couldn't even remember the drive. The whole time, all she could think about was the green of Paula's eyes and the sweet smell of her perfume. This couldn't be happening. She couldn't be falling for a woman she barely knew. Scratch that. She couldn't be falling for the daughter of the most dangerous man on the East Coast. Nope, she wasn't falling. It was simply a date. One silly little date. Shaking her head, she claimed her parking spot and made her way up to her condo. So how was it? Asked a voice the second Dani walked through the door. Jumping back, Dani drew her gun from her holster. Easy, it's just me, Jackson said, turning on the lamp. Dani sighed as she lowered her gun and turned to shut the door. Jesus Christ, Dad, I almost shot you, she said as she put the gun away. I'm sorry, kiddo. I was just worried, so I thought I'd come wait for you, he explained. Dani made her way past her father and into the kitchen. So? Jackson asked, seeming quite eager. She told me everything. She showed me a couple of family photos and took me to her dad's hideout, Dani said sarcastically. Jackson rolled his eyes. Dad, it was a first date. These things take time, Dani said, making her way over to the fridge and grabbing a bottle of water. Jackson nodded his head. I know. Just dash, he sighed before stepping into the kitchen and leaning against the counter opposite his daughter. Just be careful. The mind is a playground for the Levines, Jackson said. And it was true. Paulie and Vinny's father, Michael, was a psychiatrist and their mother was a therapist. Together, Michael and his wife would crawl into the minds of any and everyone and fuck with them until they went batshit crazy. Michael and his wife could talk their way in or out of anything, and there was no doubt that they taught their boys that skill, and Paulie surely taught it to his children as well. I know what I'm doing, Dani assured her father. So, what did you do? Jackson asked, leaning against the fridge door. She took me to the park for a picnic, Dani said. Dani could feel the slight tug on the corners of her mouth as she thought back on her time with Paula. If the circumstances were different, she'd be gushing to her father about the whole date. But it wasn't a date. It was a sting operation to take down one of the most dangerous families in the country. She needed to remember that, no matter how nice and charming Paula was, it was all part of her little game. Paula was trained to be that way, and Dani couldn't let herself forget that. Since Dani and Paula didn't really do much, there was not much for Dani and Jackson to talk about. So while Dani took a shower, Jackson called his wife and informed her that he'd be home rather late. All right, honey, love you too, Dani heard her dad say before he hung up the phone. Dani both admired and loathed the relationship her parents had. Her mother and father were each other's best friends. As a kid, while all of Dani's friends' parents were getting divorced or silently hating one another, Jackson and his wife were playing grab-ass in the kitchen and going on dates. Of course, Dani never had to see any of that, but still, her mother and father set the bar for love quite high. Sometimes Dani wondered if they'd set it a little too high. Mom says hi, Jackson said as he pocketed his phone. Sitting on the couch, Jackson finally switched off his officer mode and curled up with his daughter. They ended up watching Law and Order, SVU, and this time Jackson refrained from pointing out all of the inaccuracies like he normally did. Enjoyed this video? Want to be notified when the next one drops? Then subscribe and hit that bell to be notified. Also, share this with a friend who you think might enjoy this story.